Hey, people, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, all everything in between, I guess. Welcome back to Renderless Games with your host, Renderless Games. And I just wanted to start off by saying thank you to all the people who watch whatever I may post, live streams, uh, stuff I make, screenshots, videos, and leaks and things of that nature. Thank you for your support, and I'm infinitely grateful. And for those of you who don't typically stick around, don't worry. You guys will be getting a lot more consistency from me, I feel, within the next couple days and weeks, and so on and so forth, especially as it pertains to Elden Ring. Now, this is a very good time for me to start being active again because there's, as you know, yesterday, and I presume within the next few weeks or days, there has been uh, a few screenshots that surfaced online. Now, I'm aware that many influential people have, saw a 16 or so minute video of Elden Ring. Now, without further ado, I just want to go into my analysis. So here we go. This image is it's a very great image. Like all the screenshots we've seen, they're all 100% beautiful. But this is just phenomenal because not only is it familiar, something new, but it's also something very familiar as well. You can see here at this at these skeletons on the ground, they kind of resemble the skeletons on Bloodborne. Not exactly in full skeleton, but with some flesh on them. But I believe these are statues, sort of, that don't animate. Now, they could have been alive at one point because they all look somewhat unique, so that kind of implies that they're not just copy paste statues. But who knows? And if you look even closer, if you look further in the distance, you can see that this person here is wearing a very familiar, I'm going to call it an armor set. These robes, they kind of resemble the Firekeepers from Dark Souls 1, the first Firekeeper you ever meet. And that's the one that's killed by the Knight of Favor himself, Lautrec. Now, the strangest part about this is a lot of people on Reddit and stuff have been calling this he, when it's indeed not a he. In fact, my expertise, my analysis is pretty certain. Well, this very well could be Marika herself, the demigoddess, the queen of the demigods. And the interesting part about this is that she, I believe, isn't the only demigod queen. She isn't the only person or being to have her own world. I believe the greater will is probably to her as she is to the other demigods within Elden Ring. And that is to say, she herself is a descendant of the greater will. And she's been long gone. Of course, because she has no say-so over what's been happening with her offspring, assuming she's the most powerful one. So when she died, that's when the shattering happened, or the battle. That's what I think. Now, an even more interesting part is that this area appears to be subterranean in some way, because the ceiling here is covered in rock. So it almost certainly is under the sea. I mean, under some kind of hole in the ground. Maybe it's a cave or something, but it's not much light reaching down here. Now, if you look even closer, this looks like it could be an entrance of sorts. I'm not gonna wager too much on that, but it does look like it could be a door. Now, whether this door is locked based on other things, we don't know. And I'm not sure either. Maybe the people who watched it do. Now, let's go on to the next image, shall we? All right, cool. This right here is one of the most beautiful images I've seen because it's again something very familiar, but something very new and unique. It's not really necessarily something that you think From Software would do, unless you've played the previous games. Then you can kind of see that this is sort of a mishmash of things that they've done before, which I think Elden Ring is in general, just like the previous image. So let's see here. If you remember the trailer that they showed, there was an area right before the mountains in the background, right before this craggy, spirally thing in the background with a dragon in it. There were a bunch of guards and whatnot guarding areas with spikes. Now, I could be crazy, but this is very likely the entrance before the dragon area. And this is what I think it is. And as far as the sky being purple, it's not a setting. You know, in this game, nothing's set in stone in terms of the sky. It can change based on a manifold of factors. One of which is the climate, you know, the weather, and another is maybe the story too, and the area you go in. Sort of like Oblivion. Okay. So if you look at these characters, the first thing you notice is they have these things swinging from them. And, you know, with our human brains, we look at it and assume those are arms. But that's not necessarily accurate because if you look closer, there are actual arms here. You know? So it's almost as if neither one of these things are arms. Neither these hook things, these anchors, or these appendages here, because they don't appear to dangle at all or to be of any use. I think these are mechanical beings. It'll be quite impractical for a living entity to have to not use its arms to use actual weapons and instead just have these things hanging from them. I could even wager that these beings don't move at all fast, if at all. Now, I know for a fact that these look familiar because I played Dark Souls 1, and in Dark Souls 1, Sin's Fortress, if you guys remember or played 1, what had these things swinging from them like a typical RPG, like Oblivion or Skyrim or something. And that's pretty normal. But to see them make a return in a sort of portable way kind of hints at the overall feel of Elden Ring in general. How everything is pretty much something old, but new stuff still there at the same time in a portable sense because it's open world and things move around. Now, if you look even closer, sorry, my image isn't very detailed in Elden Ring. But if you look closer, it's almost as if one of those giants that guard the caravan is in the background hanging upside down. Now, I don't know if this is how they create those beings, or if they just caught one like, ha, this is an enemy from a previous faction or another faction we don't like, and we strung them up. If that's the case, I don't see much reason to do that besides aesthetic reasons, because you can't punish a being like that unless it's alive, and I think those beings are this area's equivalent of automatons, because they do seem to be brainless and sort of have the intelligence of horses at best. And I say that because it doesn't make much sense for an intelligent being to allow spikes to go through its body and be controlled by other beings, especially with the strength that those beings have. They're at least, at most, intelligent as horses, because they are pulling a wagon after all. Now let's go on to the next image. Now this image here is so friggin' wonderful, people, let me tell you. This woman here, and I know it's a woman, just the shape of her, this is a woman. This here is so beautiful because it looks like they are some kind of chimpanzee people, which was quite frankly never in any FromSoft game that I could recall. The closest thing were the monkeys from Sekiro. But there, it's good to see a return of Beast Folk, just like Dark Souls 2 planned. And in a lot of ways, Elden Ring does seem to be what Dark Souls 2 tried to be. But there's something stranger here yet that I don't think a lot of people talk about, and that's the fact that this being here is larger than the other beings, but definitely doesn't have the same nose as these other beings. In fact, compared to this guy, this big guy, these other three look four, because there's one in the corner. These other four beings look they look human actually. They look human, especially this one. He might actually be a human. And it's fun. It's amazing to see such variety in one place like this. Like normally in Dark Souls, there will be in one zone there will be one enemy, but different variations of the same enemy, versus many different types of enemies coexisting together with a similar aesthetic. Because this is clearly not the same type of enemy. The closest we got were the Gru from Dark Souls 3. There was one variation that looked like a dog and another variation that looked like a mutated goat. So this is great. And they were in a swamp, so it looks similar to this. So it's good that they're staying the same, being different yet again. And as far as what this creature may be, I'm just gonna go out on a limb here and say it's some kind of hybrid. Obviously, I mean it's clearly not a chimpanzee, so it doesn't make much sense to say, oh, these hands belong to a primate, because, well, I don't see a tail, and if it's not a chimpanzee, and it's not a human, and it's definitely not a gorilla, because of the face and the nose, it's not a primate. So why does it have such large hands? Well, because it's a hybrid, people. Hybrid creatures can exist. There's no rule against it, especially in video games, especially in fantasy. Okay? That's what I wanted to say. Now moving on to the next image. Oh, and by the way, she's clearly some sort of hybrid sorcerer assassin. Sorcerers typically wear blue. And honestly, that's one stereotype where pretty much every fantasy game is followed that I know of. Sorcerers wear blue robes and hoods. I mean, especially Dark Souls. We can all agree that Dark Souls has always had that. Sorcerers, especially the kind that use a blue variation of magic, sorcery, they wear blue all the time. Or blue or black or something, some cool color or robe. Moving on to the next image. Now this is an even beautiful image right here. This is even more beautiful because it sort of introduces you to what the world may seem like. And if you've been paying attention to the last few leaked videos and official videos and screenshots and things of that nature, every time that a spell is cast in Elden Ring, some sort of pattern like drawing appears before us. Now you can tell this here is very likely the player character or a tarnished, because this person clearly has some kind of shackle or some kind of bondage around its neck. I think this is a female character, so I'll call her. Not only that, but the golden auras, and even if you look closely, the pattern of the Elden Ring and the tree itself and the leaves, so it's clearly a tree, it's right here. It's in the center. So this is some kind of ritual involving the Elden Ring. And these here are statues. They don't quite move, and you can tell because who would have time to do that spell, this ritual, in the middle of being assaulted by these wicked beings. Now these things very well could be angels and they could be good guys, but they don't appear to move, being that they have blood stains on them, just like the environment has blood stains. So you can kinda attest to the fact that they're just environmental, and at least in this screenshot they aren't alive. Now, I wanted to go on further with saying that there's white light, there's white fire, and this does appear to be some kind of crypt, which is itself kind of beautiful, but it's not very much different from the souls we see in Dark Souls just floating around. But it's still nice to see that there are other colors of light within the game, not just yellow. And there's something even greater that I wanted to discuss that you probably don't notice. So if we zoom in a little bit, you can kind of tell that this may be a crypt of some sort. There seems to be places to place bodies in some pattern, sort of like the underground areas in Skyrim, if you guys have played that. And if you look even closer, there it seems to be tree roots, sort of like the sorry, I'm forgetting the name, the Quelaag area from Dark Souls 1 and Lost Izalith in Dark Souls 3, sort of like that. And there's places to put bodies of or or whatever, some kind of crypt to put merchandise or something, some cool loot. And the tree here, this I believe is the entrance to some degree, or there's some kind of gorgeous view in the background. But there's also seems to be a bell here, but that could just be aesthetic. And they're dead bodies, so this isn't the first person to sacrifice themselves to the cause of the Elden Ring. But that's just my take. The fact that I see roots everywhere kind of gives it it's kind of a dead giveaway if you use context clues and common sense that this is something related to the Elden Ring itself directly, not just the game. But this all could just be speculation, people. I mean, I feel like I know some of these things for sure. But if you guys disagree, feel free to disagree and put it in the comments below. And remember to like, share, and subscribe. Once again, I'm your host, Renderless Games, and I'm out of here. You guys take it easy.